Hi, I'm Jim Warren. This is another segment in the series that I've been creating that deals with the ideas of Rene Girard applied to biblical peacemaking. And I have something very special to show you right now. Inside this box, I have a puzzle. Now, this is a puzzle that my father made for my son, his grandson. Obviously, he made this puzzle when my son was in preschool. Let me put the drawer underneath to help tilt this up so that you can hopefully see the puzzle perhaps a little bit better. Let me pull it back like this. Not too hard to put this puzzle together, but I used to use this as an object lesson with my son when I was trying to talk to him about learning to respect other people's personal space. I would take this cardboard frame and I'd put it around the puzzle. You can see it fits exactly around the edges of the puzzle here. And that way I could kind of talk to him about, you know, the idea that we all have our personal space and our personal boundaries and, you know, talk about being polite with people, not invading their space, all that kind of thing. But, you know, we used to have a lot of fun with this puzzle, as simple as it is, taking the puzzle apart, mixing the pieces around, you know, putting it back together, which I hope I can do. Otherwise, I'm going to be the laughing stock of the internet. I can see that right now. I should have practiced before I tried this. All right, let's see. It's not neuroscience, folks. I should be able to do it. There we go. Okay, no problem. We got it back together. Excellent. I'd actually like us to think about this not as a puzzle, but as a human community. Like all communities, it has clearly defined boundaries, as I've already demonstrated. And I use the word community, but really we can think of this as any kind of a group. It seems that all human associations have these kinds of clearly defined boundaries that delineate who is in and who is out. Masters are in, slaves are out. Men are in, women are out. Jews are in, Greeks are out. Greeks are in, barbarians are out. We all do this all the time. Currently, for my 7-year-old son, people who wear silly bands on their wrists are in, people with bare wrists are out. Now, it may seem that this kind of boundary making is absolutely necessary for a culture to define itself. It may even seem that it's, in some instances, quite trivial. But you know, I've seen children fight over silly bands. It's not really a matter of how trivial the distinction may seem to us. The important thing is whether that distinction is being used as a means of excluding somebody else so that we can exalt ourselves. And if that is the case, then to a greater or lesser extent, that differentiation process is a violent one. Now, Jesus had a different idea about community. He wanted his community to operate in a totally different way. Let me explain using another piece. Suppose an outsider comes along. He wants in. Knocks on the door. Go away, the wizard is not here. Actually, Rene Girard has taught us that communities oftentimes will seize upon any kind of difference they can find, even if it's a trivial one like the color of skin or something. Or maybe it's an outsider from a different city. Maybe this is somebody who speaks a different dialect, okay? Or even speaks the same language but just has an accent. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Some slight difference that the community seizes upon in order to expel the outsider. Maybe murder the outsider or banish the outsider. That reaffirms the community's solid boundaries. Because if the community were to let this guy in, ye gads, look at that! What a monstrosity! Look how that messes up our group identity. Remember the nicely, clearly defined boundaries we used to have? Obviously we can't let this guy in. So he is murdered or expelled, and the community reaffirms its group identity over against the victim. Jesus had a totally different idea about community and how it should operate. Within the Jesus community, it works more like this. Somebody comes knocking for admission, the community opens up and lets the outsider in. Yeah, but what about the identity of the community? Jesus says, well, this is what you do. You welcome the outsider, and then you do a little shifting around, a little adjusting. But don't worry, you'll still be the same community. Why? Because the distinctions are based on love, not violence. And love can welcome the outsider. Nobody needs to be marginalized within Jesus' community. Well, okay, sure, but you know what? What if the community encounters a real obstacle? You know, what if somebody comes along who's just so big, honking, different, that the community cannot possibly accommodate this and still remain itself? Jesus says, hey, doesn't matter. Same thing. You welcome the outsider. You affirm them, and you make the adjustment. And there we have the same community again. Now, yes, you say, but hold on. If you're going to make that much accommodation, you're going to lose the group definition. You'll lose your identity. I mean, how can you possibly accommodate that much? Well, the amazing thing is that even though I added extra pieces to this puzzle, that cardboard frame still fits exactly over the puzzle. Because you see, love can affirm an endless variety of God's children without having to fear the loss of its identity. And if you're okay with it, I'm going to put this right back in the drawer and keep my father's puzzle a safe family heirloom.